بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ومن يخرج من بيته مهاجرا إلى الله ورسوله ثم يدركه الموت فقد وقع أجره على الله. Please recite as-salawat. Respected listeners, my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, I would like to start by revisiting a monumental event in the history of Islam. In the year 622, when the Holy Prophet ﷺ emigrated from Mecca to Medina. This was a watershed moment in Islam. And it was not just an escape from Mecca. It was in fact the birth of a vibrant Islamic civilization that was going to spread all across the world. It all started from there in Medina. After that, Hijrah. And that civilization touched the hearts and minds of people all across the world in different geographical locations. And today, we have Muslims spread all across the world. And in those days, the Sahaba, the companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, could not even imagine that Muslims would be living in places as far as near the Arctic Circle and as far as in a country called the United States of America and Canada and Australia and New Zealand and the United Kingdom and in Scandinavia. And today, in fact, many Muslims call these countries of the West their home, generations after generations. However, recently, there has been a growing sentiment among the Muslim populations in the West in general, and Shia Muslims in particular, that perhaps this is the time to do the hijrah and leave the West. Leave the West to some place that has a better environment, a more fulfilling environment when it comes to their faith and their life. This is a growing sentiment. And believe me, you would probably be surprised to know that in the United Kingdom alone, Shia Muslim families have started to emigrate out of the country, and there are more than 200 Shia Muslim families that are seriously contemplating emigration. This is what is going on. So is it the time to do a hijrah? Because life in the West for Muslims in general and Shia Muslims in particular has become so not conducive and so unfulfilling that perhaps we are better off doing this hijrah. Is it the time to leave the West? This is the topic of today's lecture. And I've carefully selected this topic for today's occasion. So what you're going to learn during the next 50 or so minutes is the following. First of all, what is the West? How do we define the West? Very quickly, What are the key values and characteristics of the West? And after that, what could be the key concerns for Muslim families to consider and contemplate this emigration, this hijrah? What could be the key concerns that they find living here unfulfilling? That, and also doing that, building upon that, what could be potential destinations for us to emigrate to and how feasible that can be? And after that, what is the Islamic concept of hijrah and what can we learn from the Holy Quran when it comes to hijrah and emigration? And after that, I'll take a closer look at history and give the historical accounts of some of the events surrounding the arrival of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala, and end this lecture with a brief eulogy, inshallah. But before I proceed, wherever you are, you who are blessed to be present here and those who are blessed to be watching this program online, from the bottom of your heart, please recite a synchronized, beautiful and loud salawat. So, question number one, what is the West? We often hear things about the West, the East versus the West in political terms, and also we hear it sometimes in religious speeches, what are the wrong things happening in the West? So, the West generally refers to the countries of Europe and the United States and Canada and their allies, Australia and New Zealand. This is geographically speaking, this is the West. But what are the characteristics of the West? What are the values of the so-called West? So one thing first, West is not a monolithic entity. West, please recite a salawat. Please recite another salawat. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties. Let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With the barakah of salawat, this difficulty disappears. Recite a salawat. So the West is not a monolithic entity. So we see that, for example, Scandinavia is the West, the UK is the West, Southern Europe is the West, countries of Eastern Europe are the West, Germany, France, the UK, and all these countries have different cultures. They have different socio-political structures. And you can't compare one country to the other, just like that, giving a sweeping statement, the West. You can't live in the West. Well, of course, it can be difficult for you to live in the West of Hungary, the country, the Hungary of Viktor Orban, far-right government. It can be difficult for Muslims to live in Poland under a far-right government, but it is perfectly all right for Muslims to live in a right and far-right coalition in Norway. Because the constitution, the political atmosphere, and the general values of the society are very much different from those in Hungary, for example. So, without getting into too many political details, West is not a monolithic entity, because I often hear from West-bashing Maulanas giving sweeping statements against the West, so we have to understand that, first of all. Now, what are the key characteristics of the West? First of all, now what I'm going to tell you are the key values and characteristics that the Western governments may or may not live by. But these are what define the West. Liberal democracy, government of the people, by the people, of the people, for the people. This liberal democracy, and also individualism and freedoms for individuals. The freedom to exercise your faith, the freedom to expression, the freedom to having religion. This is what defines the West, and this is what the leaders of the West claim that these are the values of the West. And very important value, secularism. And secularism is not anti-religionism. Secularism simply separates the church from the state, and everybody is free to practice their faith and religion, or not practice any faith or religion, just like we can practice our faith in a secular society. So, and there can be many other things like human rights and the rights of women and the rights of people regardless of gender and orientation and so on and so forth. This is a complete package, but I'm not getting into those details. That's the West. And we live in Western countries, and all Western countries have more or less these values, or supposed to exercise these values. And when they don't, like Hungary of Viktor Orban, European Union really pressurizes them that you have to really uphold these values, which also include multiculturalism and diversity and inclusiveness, at least on paper. But also there is more and more diversity and inclusiveness, for example, in the United Kingdom. Now, what could be the reasons for Muslims to leave the West despite apparently a diverse and inclusive society, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and all that? What could be the concerns? First of all, there can be several concerns, and I'm going to mention only a few. And it is not only one concern that motivates someone to take a decision to emigrate from the West. It can be one or several, more likely a combination of different factors. So first of all, they want to live in a country or a society where Islam is the norm. Yes, some people have become tired of living in a society where Islam is not the norm. Although you can practice your faith, you can build your mosques, you can have azadari processions, but Islam is not the norm. You always have to be careful what's halal, what's not. You always have to read the ingredients before consuming something. And also you don't hear the sound of the adhan. So they want to go and live in a country where they can at least hear the sound of the adhan 5 times a day. But if they end up in a country like Pakistan, they won't hear it 5 times a day. They would hear it hundreds of times a day. Because it would start at the time of Maghrib with 25 different types of adhans and will continue until it's Isha time and it will start again. Something like that. But so adhan is important, very important to hear that sound, and that's a very genuine concern. People want to live in such a society. Concern number 2 could be that they really don't like the culture, they don't feel like they belong. They want to live in a society where they feel like they're one of the people, one of the majority society. They speak the same language, they have the same religion, they have the same sort of culture, and also rituals, and so on and so forth. And that's also quite a genuine concern. People might have that. And it could be a combination of both of these things. Islam as a norm and the culture. And the third thing, and this is a very serious issue, what I'm going to tell you. Third thing, toilets. Toilets. We don't have inclusive toilets here. Loo is a serious issue here. So let me tell you a true story. True story. There is this family, they were traveling in Denmark by road, and they needed to go to the loo. The children needed to go to the loo, the family needed to go to the loo. So they stopped by a public toilet. They had to pay money to get to the toilet, use it, and they filled their bottles of water to do tahara. And guess what? The staff of that public toilet, the Danes working there, they said, no, 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 you're not allowed to take water into the toilet. They said, this is none of your business. We can do whatever, we can bring whatever into the toilet. They said, no. They strictly said to them, those Danes were crazy. They wanted to control what people do in the loo. You see? These are practical problems that we face. Although we have been here for generations and decades, we should start a campaign for inclusive loos, by the way. Someone needs to start that. Because nowadays there's so much talk about inclusion. Anyway, genuine concern. These small things can make life difficult sometimes, really. Another concern, and very, very genuine concern. People are really worried about their children and future generations. And they're worried that they might lose their children and future generations, God forbid. That they will lose their faith, that they will run away from their homes, that they will change their names, that they will marry non-Muslims, that they will, God forbid, commit greater sins. This is a concern which is also exacerbated by some preachers who do not have vested interests in the West, who don't even live in the West, but they talk about the Muslims in the West having this kind of problems. And when they go back home, they give speeches in which they say, you see, girls are running away from home in the West. Children are changing their names to Christian names. No one should move to the West. They exploit, they capitalize on those genuine concerns that these believers have. And in this age of social media, those speeches spread and people watch them here. And sometimes parents watch it, and sometimes the youth watch it. And it only contributes to identity crisis. And those preachers, the West-bashing preachers, are really not interested in the well-being of these communities. They're only interested in taking a moral high ground and feel superior, which is loaded in inferiority complexes. I won't spend more time, just wanted to make this point. In the age of social media, when you are exposed to these kind of ideas, they can really confuse you. So you have to be vigilant. You have to take a decision yourself where you want to live, how you want to identify. This is your decision. I cannot impose it onto you. No Maulana, no preacher, no government. No far right, no far left can impose it onto you. It is your decision how you feel, where you belong, how you want to live. And this lecture is only going to help you understand this issue and take a decision in case you are contemplating to emigrate. So then the question is, okay, you have these genuine concerns and you really want to emigrate. So what options have you got? And this is a tricky bit. What options have you got? Please recite the salawat. You see, we have Muslims of different types living here. Different types means of different origins. Also, there are Muslims who emigrated from their countries of origin and started living here. and there are those Muslims who were born here, like many of you, maybe a majority of you were born here, born and brought up here. And those who emigrated from their countries, they came for different reasons. As a guest worker in the 50s, in the 60s, and eventually they stayed here. And then also, many people like myself came to study here in the West, and then they found jobs and they liked being here, and they established families and they started living here. Then also there are those who fled persecution. Our Iraqi brothers and sisters, terrible times under Saddam. Our Afghan brothers and sisters, terrible times under Taliban. Our Pakistani brothers and sisters, terrible times in the 90s and parts of 2000s with targeted killing of Shia professionals that was going on, a pandemic of it. And can be other countries as well. Very genuine reasons to leave their Muslim countries and come to the West to save their lives. And then there are those Muslims who convert to Islam, and they also live in the West. Now, this was important to tell this categorization so that we can then analyze what options have they got, which countries they can move to. So they have three options. Now I'm gonna limit our discussion to Shia Muslims, not Muslims in general. As Shia Muslims, we have got three options. First, we move to a Shia majority country. First option, we leave the West and we move to a Shia majority country. Second, we move to some Muslim country where we can live peacefully, although it's not Shia majority, it's Sunni majority, but we can live there peacefully. The third is that we simply move back to our country of origin where we emigrated from, or where our parents or grandparents emigrated from. Now, is this as simple as I described? Is it as simple as I described? So first, we have to understand what kind of world we are living in. The world we live in nowadays, in the terms of international relations and political science, the world today is a society of nation states. A society of nation states. Iraq is a nation state, Iran is a nation state, Pakistan is a nation state, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, you name it, UK, Germany. And each nation state has got its own well-defined geographical boundary, a well-defined population, a currency, a government, and a passport. And each government of each nation state, first and foremost, works for the benefit of its own citizens. Its own citizens. And many countries that you would probably love to emigrate to wouldn't even allow you to live there and work there. You won't get a residence permit or work permit, even if they had jobs, and some of them don't even have jobs for foreigners. They have their own issues. That is number one. We live in a society of nation states. Watan. It's called Watan. Something that Iqbal Lahori, Allamah Iqbal, was vehemently against. Vehemently against. And he said, in taza khudaon mein bada sabse watan hai. The greatest among the latest gods is the nation state. Jo pairahan iska hai, wo mazhab ka kafan hai. And the cloak of a nation state is shroud of the religion. That was so strong, so vehemently against he was. And this nation state is considered to be a gift from the West. It is a gift from the West. In political sciences, it is called the most successful export of the West is nation state. Because until 1920s or so, until the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Muslims did not really have that notion of nationhood and nation states. They only had cities. Everything was under the Ottoman Empire, and then there was Persian Empire or Iran, and there was India. But anyway, without getting into those details, this nation state came from the West, by the way. And nowadays, we are proud to be national of those countries. And it's not that easy for you to simply, oh, by the way, I am Shia, so I am moving to Iran tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I am moving to Iraq tomorrow, and I'll get a great job, and I'll work there, and I'll live peacefully hereafter. No. And even if you got it, a job or a work permit or something, you're not gonna get equal citizenship in those countries. And with all due respect, this is their constitution, and we respect their constitution. This is their law, this is their country, and they have very good reasons to have those laws. So no one should feel like I'm criticizing any country. I'm just presenting the reality as it is. And I love going to Iraq. I love going to travel around in Iran. And I have family, friends, and I go and stay at their place in Baghdad. So no one should think like I have issues with. We have cultural and religious ties with those people. Governments I'm not talking about. People I'm talking about. So you can't simply go and start living. And even if you did, you will again become a foreigner. It will take you ages to learn the Lahja Iraqiyya. When they start saying Shalonak Ziyan and Gilla, you will say, what is this? For 6 months I learned Arabic in London. What are they saying? And then you go to Iran, and then you wouldn't understand what's going on. You wouldn't know who are their actors and actresses. You won't just step in and listen to a stand-up comedy and films. You will say, what's going on? So you will make your own circle of Pakistani, Western, Indian, African, Kenyan, Tanzanian people, and you will just become a foreigner again. And you won't be able to take part in democracy, you won't be able to vote, you won't be able to do anything. So this is a reality. But some people say, I don't care. I will go to the Hausa. Some people say, I'll go to the Hausa. Very good, very noble thing. Go if you can. But if you take Hausa as an escape from responsibilities, to run away from the West so that you can live comfortably and you don't have to fulfill any responsibilities, your intention is not correct. Islam wants us to go to the Hausa, learn, spend a few years, come back and work in the community. So Hausa is not for you a luxury to run away, escape from here, go live there, and then live and continue living there. This is not, unless you want to become a marja. And if you really want to become that, sure, it takes quite some effort and time. So, this was the thing about Shia. So you say, okay, you know what? The Shia countries, they are struggling and they have issues. I don't care. I will go to Dubai. Dubai has many more opportunities, rich country. They give work permit, you can do business and all that. Perfect, go to Dubai. So you are telling me that Dubai is a chaste utopia and England is filth. If this is the case, go and live in Dubai. It's a chaste utopia. Everything is beautiful there. Everything is pious, tahir, pak, pure. And England is filth. So go and live in Dubai. Good luck. So you say, no, okay, no, Maulana, you're so cynical. I'll go and live in Saudi Arabia. Sure, go. Go live, get a job at Saudi Aramco and go and live there in their camp as a foreigner, as a colored person, despite your European passport, go and live there as a Shia. You do your thing, your prayers, your azadari in some sort of small room, whatever, but you'll get loads of money. And what will you do with that money? Again, you would have to emigrate again somewhere with that money to live comfortably. I say, no, okay, I want to go. Some people are going to Saudi Arabia and I wish them well. I have some friends who have moved to Saudi Arabia. It's a great place for career-wise, but I'm talking about living permanently and establishing families and stuff. You say, no, Maulana, there is a gem in the Middle East that you've forgotten. And that is Oman. Oman. And those 200 families that I talked about in the beginning, that I have learned from reliable sources that they are seriously contemplating emigrating from the UK, they are contemplating moving to Oman. And Oman is a wonderful country. It has perfect religious harmony, intersect harmony, and I myself visited Oman just a couple of months ago. And it was not to look at it with that intention that I want to emigrate to Oman, no, but I wanted to go there because I had heard so many good things about that country. Beautiful country, wonderful people, loads of opportunities in the energy industry, in the IT industry, and some people have already moved, and quite some Shia population, the Alawati people who are native, who are Omani Shia, and other Shia people, Pakistani, Indian, different kinds, many beautiful mosques, everything is wonderful. I loved Oman. I fell in love with Oman. But the interesting bit is every other Pakistani and Bangladeshi there asked me how could they get to the West? How could they get to the West? Because they don't have equal citizenship. They are that cheap labor that I enjoyed my meals and stays and services on the backs of those poor Pakistani and Bangladeshi guys. Having all those tasty meals and karak chai and everything. That Pakistani guy, that Bangladeshi guy is working there. And then, when I was returning, I experienced something really bad. All that hospitality, all that niceness of the Omani people, and I still have great respect for them, but at the airport, things changed. When you leave the airport, the people who look Pakistani, they are interrogated. And I was interrogated not once, but twice. Despite my Norwegian citizenship, they had a hard time believing how can a Pakistani-looking guy come with a Norwegian passport to do tourism? You are supposed to be our slaves. And other guys were really going through hard time. Really going through hard time. I heard they were telling them your residence cards, resident card of this European country is fake. This is fake visa. They were really being interrogated. And I don't say that Pakistanis don't do fishy business. They do. Okay? But still, I'm telling you, it's always gonna be one thing or other. It won't happen like that. Usually, it wouldn't happen like that sort of stereotyping at the airports of the UK in the West. I don't think so. I travel quite often. It wouldn't happen like that. I regularly travel, weekly basis. So these are the realities. So third option, let's return to our country of origin. So if you're from Tanzania, I don't know much about Tanzania, to be honest, and I've never been there. So I can't tell much, but I've heard great things. And if someone wants to move back to Tanzania or repatriate or move because their parents or grandparents came from there, probably it's a great place. I'm not in a position to say anything about it. I've heard only good things about Tanzania. I've heard mostly good things about Kenya. I've heard very good things about Uganda, about many different countries, and I am not in a position to say anything about those countries. But if you are of those countries, your origin, probably you can go and take a look. Maybe you're gonna enjoy. But never take a one-way door decision right away. There are two types of decisions: one-way door decision and two-way door decision. One-way door decision is once you have taken it, you can't come back. Well, eventually you might be able to come back, but after having paid a big price and a big loss. But a two-way door decision is you can get in, get out, get in, get out. Go there for 2 months, 3 months, live for a year. Don't burn the bridges and see how life is. And maybe you're going to love it. But I have also seen studies and academic research that several people from European countries, they moved to the countries of their parents. Younger people who were born and brought up in the West, they moved to the countries of their parents, and then they came back after some time. They wanted to live a Muslim life in those countries, and they said, you know what, we faced two extremes. One section of the society has become very liberal, and that looks down on us that we have come to live a chaste life. And the other section of the society is so traditional that we can't really interact with them. They are way too traditional. And they said, then we realized that we were more Western than that origin of our parents. So now you can go to the country of your origin, but you make sure that your children, they are safe. And I'm not talking about physical safety. I'm talking about psychological safety. You can move to the country of your origin, but you have to make sure that your children will not feel that being Shia Muslims, they are a second-grade citizen, that they are agents of Iran, that they cannot become whatever they want to become, that they can't run for the office, and will always be seen as the others and lesser humans, because that can leave deep scars on their souls. And I'm going to share something very personal with you today, very personal for the very first time. These deep scars. I grew up in Pakistan. And this is my personal experience, and I'm not saying that everyone goes through that throughout that country. I grew up in Pakistan, and when I was 11, my family moved from one city to another. It was a relatively backward area in Pakistan. It was a new place, strange place for me. I was just 11, and I went to a new school. New class fellows, new pairs. Very strange, everything was new. And then one day at school, during the break, we were 8 or 10 boys sitting together. That one boy stood up and he said, hey guys, listen. Today, I'm gonna tell you something about Rehan. I'm gonna reveal a secret today about Rehan. I became scared. I literally became scared. And I thought, what was going on? He said, you know what? Rehan is Shia. And all those boys, they looked at me. He is Shia? You know how I reacted? 11-year-old boy in a new place. I said, no, I'm not Shia. No, I'm not Shia. They said, yes. That boy said, yes, I know, I'm sure. Because the teacher told me. The teacher, my teacher, was going behind my back, speaking to my class fellows that, hey guys, your new class fellow is Shia. That was a deep scar on my soul. that keeps coming to the fore from time to time. That keeps coming to the fore from time to time. And this scar, when it comes to the fore, I do strange things. Because of this scar, recently I committed a great sin. A great sin. Only recently. At work, I went to the prayer room, and there was a Sunni brother standing there, and I did wudu. And Sunni brother who looks Pakistani or of Pakistani origin. And he said, shall we pray together? I said, okay, let's do the jama'ah, he said. I said, sure, let's do that. And then I said to him, you lead. It would become complicated. It was Zohar prayers. I said, you lead. He said, okay, I will lead. You say the iqamah. I said, okay. I started iqamah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then I committed a great sin. Not a sin in the religion of a Maulana, a khushk zahid, someone with dry piety. But in the religion of ishq, it was a great sin because of those scars on my soul. I did not say, Ashhadu anna Aliyyun waliyullah. I said it in my heart. I lamented so much after that. I said, you are so weak, you sit on the pulpit. Shame on you. I said to myself. And then I waited for the next opportunity. And I saw the brother again. And I thought, this time I will say, Ashhadu anna Aliyyun waliyullah. But this time he said, you lead. And he insisted. So I led the prayers and he said the iqamah. But at least I led the prayer our way, Shia way. But there was no Ashhadu anna Aliyyun waliyullah in the prayer. I still didn't say it. Because of those scars. Make sure wherever you take your children, they don't have to go through those things, that they will have those deep scars on their souls. Make sure. Make sure. Please recite the salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then, yes, you can emigrate to any place you feel home. You can like it. You can have a good, fulfilling life. You can find a good career, good job, good money. And maybe also live a fulfilling life, a pious life. You can do hijrah. But I'm telling you, hijrah is not only about leaving one place and going to another physically. I said in the beginning, I was going to tell you what's the Islamic concept of hijrah. There were many people who migrated from Mecca to Medina physically, but still they hadn't done the hijrah. They hadn't done the hijrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the holy book, Surah An-Nisa, verse number 100, a part of which I recited in the opening sermon. وَمَنْ يَخْرُجْ مِنْ بَيْتِهِ مُهَاجِرًا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ يُدْرِكْهُ الْمَوْتُ فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the one who leaves his bayt, leaves his house, muhajiran, in the state of being muhajir, and then ilallahi, towards Allah and towards his Rasul, towards his messenger, and then he dies, then surely his ajr, his reward is upon Allah. The key point here is يَخْرُجْ مِنْ بَيْتِهِ. The one who leaves his house, being a muhajir. Which house? You leave London and you go to, let's say, Najaf or Qom or Mecca or Medina or Mashhad or Samarra or Karbala, and you start living there. You have left your house here in London, but you haven't left the house of your nafs. It's all gonna be in vain. You can live for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years inside a seminary next to the haram, but if you haven't done hijrah from your bayt, it's not gonna benefit you. It's not gonna benefit you, my brothers and sisters. Our urafa say, Ayatullah Makarim Shirazi writes also in his tafsir, Namuna, that before you can do hijrah zahiriyah, you have to do hijrah batiniyah. First hijrah batiniyah, then hijrah zahiriyah. And if you haven't done hijrah batiniyah, if you haven't left your nafs, your house, you can sell your house, you can leave the filthy, dirty West and go to some chaste utopia, and still you will be living an unfulfilling life. You will still be worried about silly, silly things. You'll still be criticizing other people. You'll still be sitting doing gossip. You'll still be looking at indecent things. You'll still be looking at haram Bollywood songs in that country that you so dearly wanted to emigrate to. But if you have done your hijrah from your bayt, there is a big chance that you will survive even in England, even in the West, which, by the way, is not as bad as it is painted. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, we do have double standards when it comes to the governments, especially when it comes to the foreign policy. We all know the double standards when it comes to Gaza and Palestine and other cases, but still, at the end of the day, you have these marakis. No one is forcing you to drink alcohol, my brothers and sisters. No one is forcing you to become atheist. While in several Muslim countries, younger people are becoming atheist in droves. And I don't want to mention any names, any country names, because that's stigmatizing and a bit disrespectful. But I urge you to go home and do your own research. In which Muslim countries atheism is on the rise? In which Muslim countries, in which countries of the world pornography is watched the most? I urge you to go and do your independent research. And then you will see, in this age, in this day and age, because of the social media and AI and the communication technologies, geographical boundaries are becoming less and less significant. Less and less. It's very possible. And I know people, and I was speaking with a teacher of mine as I prepared this lecture. I usually do mubahisat with asatid for certain topics. And he said, you know what? It's very possible someone is sitting in Qom physically, but his heart is in the West. His heart is in the haram things of the West through that Instagram, through that social media. However, it's very important, and it's very important to mention that the chances are, if someone grows up in Qom or Najaf or Mashhad, the chances are that they will turn out to be good. There are chances, high likelihood. But you are born and brought up here, and I don't want to revisit the whole lecture, the cultural issues and the work permit issues and the practical issues. So summing up, if you get out of your bayt, then nothing can hurt you. Then nothing can bother you. But someone will say, you are saying, Maulana, England is free. Which freedom are you talking about? We are living in the matrix. This is only an illusion of freedom. And you are saying, oh, there is freedom? No, there is only the matrix. So I'm gonna say that yes, the matrix. Maybe we are living in the matrix. Maybe we have an illusion of freedom, but it's not only England. The whole world is living in the matrix. But you can escape the matrix. How? By doing khuruj from your bayt. By leaving the house of your nafs. You can escape the matrix. This hijrah, quickly, a few minutes on the history. Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his movement is there to help us escape the matrix. If there is such a thing as the matrix. History, Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Medina, he did his hijrah. There have been several hijrah in the history of Islam, and one of them was this short-lived hijrah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. From Medina to Mecca. I told you yesterday, today the history will be relatively short. Relatively short, 7-8 minutes or more. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he received those letters from Kufa, he sent Muslim ibn Aqil to go to Kufa, look at the circumstances, write back to him. Muslim was martyred, but before his martyrdom, he had sent a letter to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Please rush towards Kufa because the stage is set. Everyone is ready to support you. Little did he know that he was going to be betrayed. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Mecca, got out of Mecca, and then he left Mecca on 8th of Dhul Hajjah. 8th of Dhul Hajjah, when the Ummah was busy performing the Hajj. Why wouldn't Imam Hussein alayhi salam perform the Hajj? Because Yazid had entered mercenaries among the Hajis in the disguise of Hajis. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam heard that, he said, I'm not gonna let them kill me inside the Haram. There's sanctity of the Haram. Imam Hussein alayhi salam left on the 8th of Dhul Hajjah. And then outside Mecca, he met Farazdaq. Farazdaq, the famous poet, who was going to perform the Hajj. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam asked him, how is the situation in Kufa? And then he said this famous saying, that the Kufans' hearts are with you, but their swords are with Yazid. And then Farazdaq asked the Imam a couple of questions about Hajj rituals, and then he said, goodbye, I'm going to perform the Hajj. He didn't join Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The Imam continued until they reached a place called Sharaf. Sharaf or Sharaf. Over there, they loaded up the water supplies, Imam Hussein's caravan. At that moment, Hur arrived. Hur is still in the army of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, commander of 1,000 horsemen. And Hur said, I've been ordered by Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad to take you to Kufa. Because they did not want Imam Hussein alayhi salam to arrive in Kufa freely. No. He arrives freely, people join him, uprising. No. They wanted to control him. Yes, come to Kufa, but as a prisoner, effectively. So he said, Hur said to the Imam, I've been ordered by Ibn Ziyad to take you to Kufa. Imam Hussein alayhi salam said to her, death will befall you before you do that. Then he said, Hur, okay, what I'm going to do is that I'm not going to let you go to Kufa on your own. I'm not going to let you go anywhere else. In the meantime, I'm going to write a letter to Ibn Ziyad and ask him what should be done. So he sent a letter, a horseman, a messenger, took that letter, and then he came back. There are about 20 or so days in between, 10th of Dhul Hajjah, 11th of Dhul Hajjah, and 1st of Muharram. So in between, the messenger went to Kufa, handed over that letter from Hur to Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad wrote back a letter and sent it to Hur with a messenger. In the meantime, Hur with his 1,000 horsemen kept an eye on Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his caravan and kept moving with them. Just kept moving with them, keeping an eye on Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Then, according to the books of Maqtal, on the 2nd of Muharram, according to some narrations, 1st of Muharram, but most narrations say the 2nd of Muharram, a horseman came rushing towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Hur, where both were. And that horseman went straight to Hur. He did not say salam to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He said salam to Hur and handed over the letter of Ibn Ziyad to Hur. It was written in the letter, be harsh on Hussein. Do not let him go to Medina or Kufa. Take him to some barren land far away from water. When that messenger arrived, Imam Hussein alayhi salam had just entered a place called Nainawa. And a part of Nainawa is Karbala, the land of Karb and Bala, the land of pains and tribulations. That's where Imam Hussein, his companions, and his family are going to stay for the next 8 or so days. This is where the son of Zahra will be martyred. This is where the daughters of the Holy Prophet, their veils will be snatched. This is where Ruqayyah will be slapped. Just a few sentences of Masaib about one particular lady. I had made an intention, I will recite the Masaib of this lady today. Just 2-3 lines, my brothers and sisters. The Majlis is over. There was one woman among the women of the Ahlul Bayt. Her name was Robab. When she left Medina, she had a child, a baby with her. She had everything. She had her children. She had her beloved Hussein. Now she has arrived in Karbala. When she will leave Karbala, she would have lost 2. She would have lost 2, her beloved Hussein and the baby. But the last one, she will take with her all the way to Kufa and then to Damascus. Her last beloved, she will lose there. Robab would have lost everything, and in doing so, would have lost nothing. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon Robab. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon Robab. Allah la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا ولم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولعن أعدائهم أجمعين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.